guys, I am here to hopefully help and explain to a lot of you that seem to be struggling with the map Grim Pantry. So the point of this video is for me to literally explain the main loops that you should be running and how you should be running them and what key things you really should be looking out for. I really hope this is going to be helpful. However, I'm only going to know if it's going to be helpful if you guys can give me feedback. So if you want to go down to the comments below and say this wasn't helpful, or this helped but it would be better if you taught me that would be really great. Apart from that, we're going to get right into it and start honestly just right at the pantry. Okay, so with the pantry, I'm sure as majority of us do know, we've got a pallet around here on this side usually, and we have a pallet over here as well. Now sometimes the layout of pantry is swapped up. This is a bit of an RNG sort of thing, but regardless of how the pantry is swapped with RNG, it should not affect how you are going to run it. Okay, now, I'm sure as the majority of you guys know, obviously the job is to preserve the life of pallets while obviously avoid being hit by the killer. Basic looping, right? And the great thing about pantry is you actually have a wide range of access to a lot of different loops, a lot of different pathways and variations you can take, obviously depending on who the killer is. So usually with this lineup we've got the pallet here, and we have the window to the right, and if we come back through, we've got a hole to our left, two windows to our left, a window in front of me right here, and a pallet to my left. All right, along with a little dropout spot there, and the ramp here, dropout spot to the right, along with a big hole in the middle, and the window again, and two gaps. So depending on who the killer is, let's just pretend that we have a wraith chasing us, right? Depending on where, you're probably going to start around about on the generator, which usually spawns around on this side, right? Obviously, the first thing you're going to want to do instantly is you need to figure out where this window is. All right, this window is obviously going to spawn this side, that side, wherever, doesn't matter, right? Now the key thing is that you need to locate this window and get it started, because it is probably one of the strongest parts of the pantry. You need to get started there with the killer. The wraith is going to chase you. You're going to take the window and cycle around this loop. This is a really strong loop because it is quite difficult for the killer to maintain bloodlust on this loop, right? So this is just one of the part of the pantries that's just a really simple and really strong. You can keep running it for a while before the killer finally catches up and goes through. Hit killer mind games, you can double back and go the other way. The smart thing for the killer to do would be to force you the opposite direction, because that leads you then to coming into a medium vault, which is going to hurt you. So if you do get in that situation, try to really push that killer the opposite direction. You want the killer to play into your kind of ground, not play into theirs, right? So you're wanting the killer to chase you this way, so you've got that nice fast vault right in front of you, not force to the opposite way and then cause, you to then start medium vaulting and them to start, making sure they're keeping their bloodlust and start catching up to you. Now, if you get to a point where, let's say you vault the window 3 times and it blocks, you either have a choice of either cycling around to this pallet, depending on how close the killer is, and either going down here and making plays by going below. I wouldn't really recommend that, because it's pretty much asking for a free hit, which is gonna get you, which is obviously not the greatest thing. I personally, if the window would block there after the killer is chasing me, I'd come around. Depending on how close they are would then depend on whether or not I'm going to take these 2 windows on my left or take the window right in front of me. This window right in front of you is really strong, because the killer either has a choice to obviously vault it and come after you, or cut off around the left side down here and try to drop down and outplay you. So the killer's watching you vault this window, they cut to the left and hop down here. Perfect. You'll vault the window, fast vault it, hit the ground, they'll drop down the right, you'll then sprint up here on the left side and go right back into that fast window vault, which is really good and really key. The killer decides to vault the window with you. You then either have a choice of cutting around the right side, knowing that the window is going to be here, and taking that. You can get a nice and easy fast vault angle there. That's another great thing as well. It's really, there's a lot of opportunities with this, but I will give a quick pause on this here. It is also very important that you locate this window, okay? You've got the window here and you've got the door here, right? This is really key important, because there are other plays you can also make They can help you change up your pathing, which can then help you confuse the killer and keep the killer on you because they're not catching you and gaining distance on you because you're constantly changing your pathing. My example would be, is I now know the window is down there on the right side. Again, let's cycle back here, pretend. Killer's chasing me. I vault the window blocks. We're going to cycle around, cut around. The killer's quite far behind me, so I'm going to go right for that window down here, looking behind me. It's very, very important. I know that there are barrels and stuff in front, so I should be able to run forward and look behind and know that I'm going to roughly cut through here. Hopefully not running into anything. I vault the window. Now, we've vaulted the window. The killer now has one of three choices, okay? The killer either vaults this window after me, they either drop down from the right side, or they take the lengthy left side, which is highly unlikely, but some killers do it because I'm assuming they think it's a shorter route. So, personally for me, chat, I vault this window and the killer, let's just say he vaults right after me. I'm most likely either going to cut up to the left side, or I'm going to cut around to the right side where we saw the window was below. I say this but this would depend on realistically one thing. How much bloodlust has the killer gained? If I know that I haven't actually lost chase with the killer before I've even vaulted that window, and I know that he's been chasing me for a bit of time, I've roughly estimated in his head he's got around about bloodlust 1, bloodlust 2. I'm vaulting that window, and straight away I'm cutting away to the right side. Why? Because it's a closer window vault that's going to help me get away from the killer. If I try and cut left and he's got bloodlust, he's going to catch up to me and actually hit me at the window, either downing me or getting that hit that he might not initially have. So if he has bloodlust, cut to the right window because it's closer. He'll have bloodlust, you'll drop and fall, you'll go right. He'll then drop and fall probably by the time you're around about the time you're on this corner. He'll start sprinting after you now. Keep in mind he's got bloodlust. You'll come right in here, nice quick fast vault right in. He then has to rush in, spam spacebar to try and catch up to you, or he'll cut around. He cuts around, he wastes even more time. He vaults the window, he's still behind you. Now this will give you a nice opportunity to now cut away, break away, and lose chase. Therefore him losing bloodlust, really, really important. And you can cut through here, and he's chasing behind you. Great, you now have an exit out here. So you have a choice of either cutting through for your pallet, depending on how close he is, or you can actually cut around to the left side and confuse him a little bit, hopefully, and then cut all the way up. Quite a long loop, so if he is really good at keeping, you know, in track with you, I probably wouldn't take this, but if he's really struggling and making bad decisions, you can see he's making bad decisions, I'd be cutting around, taking the long route, taking him all the way out, right? But if he's, let's say he's a smart wraith, so we're not going to take this long pathway because that's obviously going to affect us. Cut through here, give him this pallet because it's not really that valuable if you really have to. Keep going through. You've now got your exit out here that's going to take you right up back to the top to then take you right back out to the window we just vaulted, if you're really pleased. Or cut around through, find the way up to the right, pallet to the left. It's realistically entirely up to you. You should make the plays depending on how skilled the killer is and what you've been judging so far from how they played and what kind of decisions they have made chasing you, right? Okay, we'll come back to this window. Vault it. Killer doesn't have bloodlust, or has lost chase and has, you know, maybe is just starting to build that bloodlust 1. You can vault the window, cut right across. He's vaulting down. By the time you roughly get to this corner is when he's going to hit the floor. Come right in. Make sure you're hugging your loops nice and tightly. Don't run from here and for some weird reason take this extremely wide and then cut through. I don't know why you would do that, but some people do. Keep your loops nice and tight. Really important to come through, cut right through, right to this corner, right into that window vault. Beautiful. Killer's going to come around behind. Depending on whether or not they've managed to maintain that chase, you then have the pallet option here, which you might run around, fake, snap around, come here and take the window if you really want to, or if you want to really, you know, mix it up. And if you really want to mix it up and you haven't really taken that first hit and you're thinking, you know what, let's change it up, let's see if they actually, how, you know, if they've got their thinking cap on, come around, drop down, window to your right, perfect, he follows, vault the window, cut around right, back up the top. Plenty, like this, this is what I'm saying, there's plenty of ways to run this loop. Like this, and this is just the half of it. But the main key things that make pantry really, really strong is that window vault, the window down below, this and this window here, and the double windows over there. The windows really make this loop strong. because as you can see, this loop here is quite unsafe. It's quite mind gameable, so it can really work against you if you play it wrong. However, you could have a killer around here and you could quite easily take the window while he's cutting up around here behind you trying to mind game. Great, you take the window, he then hops off the left side. Cool, you run up the right side, you then run up the left side, right into the window vault. Really strong. So realistically, as long as you're constantly changing up your pathways in various different ways and whatnot, you should be able to hold the killer here for quite a long time, assuming that they, you know, that your teammates can do gens. But a little bit of that one. I will say, even without the pallets, even if both pallets were destroyed, this is still a really strong loop. Like, the pallets aren't even they're probably actually the weakest thing when it comes to this entire, like, structure. They realistically are. The things that really carry this for you are the windows. Killers cannot destroy windows. They have to vault them, or they have to go around the pallets. They can destroy, they can mind game, so on and so forth. Right? So even without the pallets here, seriously, cut through, killers chasing you, making sure you're hugging the loop tightly. They will struggle to maintain bloodlust around here. As long as you're hugging this really, really tightly, it's going to be even harder for them to maintain that bloodlust. Gen's going to go flying by, assuming your teammates are doing gens. And if the killer's actually somewhat decent and quite tricky, you can start mixing up. Great. Killer's coming through, vault the window. We're going to cut right. He's vaulted down, he's hit the floor, we're coming around, coming in for a nice fast vault in the window. Medium, unfortunately. Cutting around through, killer's behind me. Give him the pallet. Because he's right behind me, about to get me. Cool, free pallet, he runs and goes around. We'll cut back up the top. He's getting quite close behind me, cycle back for the same window, vault it. Killer decides to jump off the right side, cut up left. Great. Cut right down back to our original window vault. Killer's got some bloodlust, runs around the right side and is behind me. Come around here, flick out to the left, vault the window. Now, at this point, let's say he mind games you on that, hits you, okay? Great. Killer's gotten a free hit on you, but one, you've wasted a lot of his time. Two, you've got knowledge and information into how he plays. And three, you're going to use that speed boost, you're going to come right back around. Killer's still chasing. Get that final vault in the window. Awesome, sweet. Cut back around. Now, depending on how close he is, will depend on whether or not you now cycle to this pallet, possibly give it to him, get him to break it, or whether you come back and cut and drop right down. Great, right into the window vault, cutting back around out to the front, back to where you started. Look, the ways that you can run pantry chat literally depends on you. You can run this a million different ways. Some will produce better results than others. Others will, you know, have not the greatest results you're looking for. Again, how you run this will be dependent on how the killer is playing. However, it is a really, really good loop that's going to really help you test and gain a rough idea of that killer's skill, which is going to be really important from, you know, into mid to later on through the game. Not to mention if they're a killer that doesn't even mind game, overcommits, you'll have a 5-gen hole before you know it. The thing with looping is that a lot of people are really scared to take that first hit. Then seriously, take that first hit. Run through the pallet, gain an understanding of how they're playing. As long as they're a killer that doesn't have an instant down, take that M1 and use that as information. Okay, cool, they didn't respect. Oh, okay, cool, they have bamboozle, which means they're going to vault every single window. Blah, 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 blah. But realistically, the ways that you're going to play on pantry, it's up to you. You could even cut down through here, assuming he didn't break this pallet, and then quickly vault this pallet. And then he has to then run around or break it. You then cut out to the right, come back through, down through here, vault through, snap around back to the top. There's... I honestly, I couldn't tell you how many different ways there are to play pantry. Alright, we'll move on to the next loop. That can make this map quite nicely. Next one is this one. This double-story building. It's quite strong. It is quite a nice building. Again, you need to figure out where the stairs are, where the drop point is right here, and where the window is. This is really, really important. You can get some good RNG with this house, and you can also get some really poor RNG. This is probably more of a poor RNG by the looks of it. Let's have a look. Yeah, this is more of the poorer side of RNG that you can really get. Realistically, you want that window more on this side, so that you can then vault up off and then circle back around down below to hopefully this being open, circle back in through the middle and up the top. You'll see what I mean. So we'll come around through, the killer's chasing you. Generally, sometimes I will bring them down below and I'll dance around here with them and get them to hopefully a point where I can then cut away and cut back up. They'll chase me, I'll vault the window, and then assuming that this would then be open, then come back through and come back up to the top of the window. But since it is not open, I'd probably vault the window. Assuming that they've hit the window, I'd then cut around to the right side, losing bloodlust, losing chase. They're chasing me. If they're close by, I've really got that pallet to my right that I can really cycle towards. Come back around, buying time. Up the stairs we go. Snap to the right, towards the pallet. Killer decides to try and mind game. Cool. Flick away to the window vault. Come back around, similar sort of thing. So it's sort of similar to the original pantry, but this one's really RNG dependent. It's really heavily RNG dependent. It's not, and like this is, like I said, this is probably the worst RNG you can probably get for this place. But again, mixed it up. The whole point of looping is not to hold the killer for 5 gens or whatever, 10 gens. Right, the point of looping is to buy time and save resources. So if you're running the killer around, taking the windows, and then you take that M1, you know, and you've saved that pallet, you've really done a really good job. Example is you might, let's say you didn't start at pantry. Let's say you started here. You might cycle around and come through here. Great, cool. Killer's chasing me, and then you might decide to hop off here to try and cut around the stairs again. You come down, they follow, they hit you. You can then use your speed burst to sprint all the way over back to pantry, come back, cycle it again, come back through, cut through to this window, go back around, and then play pantry realistically however you please. You don't have to stick around the same loop. You can cycle. Same thing here. You could hop off here, vault down, or vault on the outside of the window, and instead of cycling around to the top of the pantry, you could actually then take the killer back over here to the pallet here if you really want to. Cycle around through here. Maybe give him the pallet, break away to this one, come around, hop off, take the hit, sprint right back to pantry. You've wasted plenty of time and given him very, very few resources. And hopefully your teammates, like I said, are doing a chance. Like, sorry, I can't say that with a straight face, because... 4 T-walls and L-walls are pretty... They're very limited on how you can play them. Really, the best way I'd think about playing them would be coming through and either giving him the pallet because he's quite close behind, or cycling around the backside and getting him to chase you to where you're going to cut through, snap left towards the window vault. Obviously, the window being your strongest part of this whole loop. The pallet's extremely unsafe and generally guarantees you and going down. Me personally, I would do exactly that. Cut through, snap here. I'll get the killer, who will then generally cut across the top and come around from where the locker is. I'll then cycle down here and come up towards the top. He's still following. Now, based on what play he makes here is whether or not I'm going to then cut to the window or then cut to the pallet. So if I see his red stain, he's come around the locker, that's perfect. That's right back into the window vault. And then he'll come through and either vault it or he'll run around either sides. You can then come back around, go up to the top. You can mix up which ways you can take this to confuse the killer and try and lose bloodlust. You can then cut around the backside this time. Come around, cut down, head to the right, ignore the pallet, go right through into that nice window vault. You can then choose, if you have enough distance, break away. Let's come up the shack. Nice and strong. Coming through, killer's chasing, vault. Snap left. Maybe you have enough distance, cut around backside. Killer thinks you've run through the shack pallet and is confused, and then cuts back out around the outside while you're still cutting across. Cool. Come right back down, break down, right into this window, because I never gave him the pallet. I broke away to shack, broke away back here, coming around the top, pretending to run towards the pallet, and then continuously going down the right side like I am now. Like, there's a lot of ways that you can... See, like, loops that are normally not the greatest can be made to be some of the strongest if you connect them together. Connecting together is extremely important and really, really strong. You can get some lineups like this on this map that can be quite desirable and quite strong. Obviously, though, that is very dependent on who the killer is. If it's someone like Nurse, you're obviously not going to be doing any of these things that I've said right now. Probably one of the more, I'd say it's probably the weakest loop on this map. I say weakest, but it's still actually really strong. Is this one, you've actually got a double window vault here. You've got a window to your right, you've also got a window here to your left. Really, really nice. And along with that, you generally have a pallet that either spawns around here to your right. This depends on your RNG. We don't have that RNG right now. Or the pallet spawns here on the left side. Quite a nice pallet spawn. Yes, it's short, but because it's short, we know the killer's going to try to mind game it quite heavily. It's going to be a heavily mind game pallet, which is nice and easy for a quick breakaway. You also have a fast vault angle right here coming down if the killer is deciding to chase you. If I can actually get that right, apparently not. I think you can fast vault this, don't... Yeah, nice. Fast vault. Or you can decide to mix it up. Cut around through, come along here. You know, great, our pallet's right there. You then have a choice if the killers decide to follow you to either come in for a nice, big, convincing vault. And then, or you can... Personally, I'd probably fake it, considering it is small. It is short. The great thing about this loop is it has a lot of fake potential. You can make a lot of fake plays that can probably get you a few swings coming out of the killer. Cut across here, he follows me, come right down, hugging this right wall to seem very convincing, snapping in, and then hitting the window, but continuously running, right? So the killer's tried to mind game me here. He's followed through. I've cut around right. He's coming behind me. I've come in. Hug it, but keep running. He lunges. I run all the way through. I run to the pallet. He semi-respects. I either have a choice now going for the window, but generally killers will mind game that. So I'll snap right, come back right here to this window, come right around to the pallet. I'll then watch him. It depends on how he plays. Then possibly I'll give it to him. Maybe I get a stun. Cut right back through for that quick vault. Come up the top. I can then mix it up and come around, cut around the right side. Coming all the way back down while he's following me. Then coming in for a nice fast vault right in front of me here. Or again, another fake play, assuming I haven't thrown the pallet to the left or to the right. Come through and I could fast vault it. Or we can come back and come through and fake it. And then cut right all the way around to the top for a nice quick pallet throw, or you could run through that, take the window right in front, killer cuts right, cool, cut left, vault it, killer cuts left, cool, we'll cut right, come back up the top. Maybe this time, depending on how much distance we have on the killer, we'll actually just cut all the way across the top completely, come all the way back down, back to this original pallet. And then from here, we could even decide to flick off to the right and try and break away and go to shack if we really wanted to. But there's a chance you might lose the killer. And generally, for me at least personally, when it comes to looping, I try not to lose the killer. I try to always keep them on me, make them think they have a chance of catching me, get in their head before they know it. Ding, 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 ding. Gens are all done. Gens are all finished. More towards the middle of this map is a dead zone. It really just ends up being a bit of a dead zone RNG. This map is quite small, so gens are quite close together, which means if a killer is actually smart, he'll rotate and leave you off pantry, off the double-story house, and probably off the shack and the loop to the right, possibly the one to the left. Those are your main 4 strong loops on the chat. Then you've got a few, you know, pallets and without any windows, which aren't the greatest, honestly, with a bit of a dead zones all around the map. Me personally, I'd be running along this, gaining a bit of an understanding of how the killer is playing, and then possibly either give him the pallet, or I would come along, cut through, snap out to the right, and kind of link these guys up. They're quite close to each other, so you can come around and snap back up the top and come right through here, and then maybe give him the pallet or whatever play it is you just hope to make. Now, a lot of you being able to loop and run these successfully will just come with practice and understanding your knowledge of the killers that you're playing against. If it's a spirit, it's going to be a lot harder because spirit is not really a killer. It's going to bloodlust. She's going to try and go for the M1, might have Strider, will listen for you and will track you quite easily. So obviously, you know, for things like spirit, nurse, and whatnot, you're going to have to change up your specific play styles, but still in general a really strong loop. You can loop a killer hard, make them lose confidence in their power and turn them into an M1 killer, and roll them hard by breaking away between loops, connecting loops up together and creating really strong ones. I think that's really all I can think of for how to run those 4 loops. I mean, shack. We should all know how to run shack. If you guys don't know how to run shack, let me know in the comments below. I'll try to show you the most efficient way I do run shack. But again, the way that I run loops is really dependent on how the killer is playing. That's really, you know, that's a big part of looping. If the killer is smart, then I'm going to cut off certain plays that I'm going to make that he will definitely have in mind and he will see coming, and try and really mix it up and keep it different and change it up. I do hope this helped. Again, guys, please comment below. Let me know. Did this help? Is there something I missed? Do I need to do a second one of this and add like a little bit on? You know, do you want more of this? Let me know in the comments below. That's really, really important. And I can't really know if I'm helping you guys or not unless you let me know. So please let me know. I think that's really about it. I'd love to thank you guys so much for watching. I do stream every Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 9 AM to 3 PM GMT +10. There are links in the description as well as one here right in front of you. I've already seen some of you guys come over from the YouTube channel. I'd really love to see some more of you guys come over. Again, thank you all so much, and until next time.